are watching MWC TV and we've managed to grab some time on the show floor with Joakim Reiter. How are you?
Good, but it's very, very manic here.
Yes, it's the MWC way. Yeah. So what will you be doing this week at the show?
So I'm mainly here because a lot of people that I work with, the policymakers, are all here. So there's a full ministerial program where we as Vodafone then engage with them. And then generally it's just fun to meet industry peers. Yeah. Get a little bit of sense of competition and how the market is evolving, so that's what we do here.
It's always good to keep an eye on the competition, isn't it? And lots of important meetings, I guess, are taking place here this week. So Vodafone's theme this year is Progress Through Technology. Talk to me about what that means to you.
Well, I joined the mobile industry because I think what we do is basically revolutionizing people's lives. So we change people's lives every day, right? So for me, that's what we're trying to project with this conference, and what we're trying to land is we're at the cusp of another big step change in how we impact people's life through industrial internet. Absolutely. So with the rollout of 5G, we unleash then the industrial internet just as 4G unleashed the consumer internet. So that story, that to make people understand what that implies, not necessarily like how do I watch cat movies when I lie in bed, but actually it's about, we will revolutionize how you do healthcare, how you do education, how you do farming. So that type of story and that type of engagement and discussing what that implies, what do we need to achieve that, how do we need to partner with governments, what do they need to change in order for us to give maximum back to society? I think that's the sort of the core of what we're debating.
So what would be your message to policymakers and the wider MWC audience?
Because we're at the cusp of this something, people need to get very, very serious about what it implies. You can either delay that revolution of our society to the better, or you can lean into it and try to facilitate it as much as possible. And the reality is, if you look at Europe, we have to spend a hell of a lot more on defense going forward. We have a demographic challenge and we have a climate transition. Yes. Unless you unleash the power of digitization to drive prosperity, to improve sort of how our competitiveness as a continent, we are going to be in deep, deep trouble. Yeah. And so digitization is one of the few levers that policymakers can pull to improve productivity, to drive competitiveness, to drive growth, right? So how policymakers address that, and what we're debating with them here today, and what my concern is that they don't understand how serious the situation is for the industry. So it's quite an honest, frank, and sometimes tough conversation that we're having, but it's about time that we have it. Yeah. So Margarita was on stage together with the other CEOs of her competitors, her main competitors, singing from the same hymn sheet, calling for a new deal. And my job, coming down the level below, is to work with policymakers saying, okay, what would that new deal involve? But fundamentally, what people forget is 10 years ago, Europe had compared to the US, was 90% of US GDP. Today, we're 65% of US GDP. So US is taking off, China is taking off, and Europe is tripping over itself.
Not moving quick enough.
And not moving quick enough. And unfortunately, this is a race. This is a global race. Absolutely. And you're in or you're out. And currently, I find still sort of EU is standing at the starting line, looking at its toes and wondering when is the gun going off, and the others are already 100 meters down. So we have to change the dynamic, and we don't really have the time to wait. So creating that sense of urgency, creating the understanding why it's important, but not for us as an industry purely sort of how do you create successful telecom companies, but actually why is it important for society? Yeah, why is it important for the economy? Yeah. So that's a really, really important conversation to be had.
Yeah. And it's really time to really speed up that digitization process, like you said.
And we have massive elections this year. We have UK election, we have European elections. So what I would like to see is every election program, every election manifesto should stipulate, we as a party or we as a government, even in case we get elected, will drive digitization through X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely. It's about time. It was a bit more front and centre then, a bit of an afterthought. Exactly. Yeah. And finally, Joakim, what are you looking forward to, or what are you excited about seeing here at MWC?
So I'm a big fan of the way that we completely rethink our network. Because 5G is the first time we think about our network as almost like a programmable platform. And it sounds a bit convoluted, but it means that when you build a layer on top, it works like an operating system. So if you think of Android or iOS for Apple, and the way that they unleashed app development, that's where we're at the cusp at. Our 5G network will become a platform. We will build an open gateway on top of it that will allow small and medium-sized companies to experiment on developing dedicated applications for industrial use. So for me, it's around how do we therefore partner, how do we look around the startups around this space, how could we partner with them? How could they become solutions providers onto our network? So it's a very exciting period.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I can tell that you're excited by this. I can see the passion oozing out of you. Joakim, a pleasure talking to you. Enjoy the show, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.